Hey everyone, it's Jack and Ross from Cultaholic.com here with some morning wrestling news. But Ross, first of all, I want to offer a big congratulations to the Indian cricket team.
One hell of a win for them in Australia. That's what everyone wants to hear on the wrestling news this morning.
I was just delighted when I woke up and checked that. Oh, there you go.
It's good, this, isn't it? I just saw Tom doing it yesterday. I had no idea he could do it.
Okay. Let's just crack on with the headline. First of all, a WWE veteran shockingly returned on last night's Raw. A new title match has been set for the Royal Rumble 2021. And finally, Mark Henry has fired back at Ryback in the midst of their war of words. Oh, you're in space now?
No, it's the Northern Lights in Iceland.
Oh, yes, of course.
Always wanted to go to Iceland, Jack, but now I don't have to. Pandemic, it's fine. I can just sit on Zoom here and bask in the Northern Lights.
You've brought Reykjavik to you. I don't know if Reykjavik's where the Northern Lights happen. It's just the only place in Iceland that I've heard of. So a veteran returned on Raw last night. Is that fair to... Yeah, it's fair to call him a veteran, isn't it?
I don't know who you're talking about, Jack.
It was Gilbert, Ross.
He is a veteran. It was nice to see... Well, I haven't seen Raw yet, to be honest, to everybody watching the video. Check WTF moments later right here on this YouTube channel. Tom Campbell as well with the grader. But Gilbert's been having some health issues recently, hasn't he?
Yeah, it was nice to see him because I think he had a bit of a heart scare of some sort. I'm not quite sure about the severity of it, but it seemed quite severe because I believe he was in hospital at sort of the tail end of last year. So it was great to see him. He looked fine. He looked in high spirits. He was fully joining in with everything. It's just more a case of what people thought of the use of Gilbert because, as always, Gilbert was doing the Gilbert thing, which is being not Goldberg, and that was basically Miz and Morrison wheeled him out and went, here's Goldberg, and then an actor came out playing Drew. Tom has provided in his notes the identity of the actor who played the fake Drew. And
Jake Gyllenhaal.
It wasn't Jake Gyllenhaal, it was David Krumholtz, aka Bernard the Elf from the Santa Claus. But I've not seen the Santa Claus for many a year.
I've got no idea who you're talking about.
No, that's fair enough. They had a bit of a war of words, and then Miz and Morrison said, neither of you are going to win, because Miz is going to cash in his Money in the Bank contract. But I think the most important, or the nicest thing to see here was Gilbert seeming all good. Apparently it was a heart attack that he suffered back in November as well. So great to see him actually looking very good.
Yeah, and you got to wonder if it still legitimately pisses off Bill Goldberg, the actual Goldberg, because famously it actually did used to piss him off back in the day, didn't it?
I would quite enjoy it if Goldberg was still annoyed by it. Although, I saw your recent Instagram post of from when you met Goldberg, and his hand is massive. His hand's on your shoulder, and
his entire body is massive. It's absolutely terrifying. It's a thing I know it's easy to say, but the size of these wrestlers, Jack, they're all massive, aren't they? Even the little ones.
Even the little ones. And that was very much the point of that segment. I'm sure that if we stood toe to toe with either Gilbert or Bernard the Elf from the Santa Claus, we would be dwarfed as well by even them. It wasn't the only big thing that happened on Monday Night Raw, though, because it seems like at least one, and I'm going to throw it out there and say maybe two further title matches have been set in stone for the Royal Rumble. So what have we got so far for the Rumble card? We've got Roman versus... Not Adam Pearce. Something happened on SmackDown, didn't it?
Was that angle on SmackDown on Friday where Pearce was limping. Oh, he's got a niggling injury. You know what it's like? Roman, brother. He wheels out Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens has replaced him. We've got Drew versus Goldberg.
Of course.
Still terrifying. And I believe there's two more matches, Jack.
So, the challenge has been thrown out there by Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, who continued their gimmick of tag partners who don't get along. And now, I know you've not seen Raw yet, but the tag partners that don't get along reached like overload last night. It seemed like every segment there was people who were meant to be on the same side not getting along. It was quite a common occurrence. But Shayna and Nia still not getting along. But they said while bickering backstage that even though they don't get along, the women's tag team champions don't get along either. So now's as good a time as any to throw out a challenge for the Royal Rumble. So it seems like Charlotte and Asuka are going to possibly be defending those titles against Nia and Shayna. Now, Charlotte and Asuka haven't even really been doing much. It seems like WWE have almost kind of forgotten that they're the women's tag team champions, would you say?
Stop me if I've heard this one before, Jack. It sounds like the women's tag team titles, since they became a thing, I think it's just Bayley and Sasha the second time around where they actually put some investment in the nearly 2 years of those titles being a thing.
Is that how it's been?
Well, yeah, it's nearly been 2. It was February, wasn't it? Elimination Chamber 2 years ago now. Yeah, and they're an afterthought, aren't they? You just have to say it, as I say, apart from Sasha Banks and Bayley's reign last summer, they've just been a complete afterthought. But the partnership between Asuka and Charlotte, I thought, got off to quite an interesting start. Because to me, watching Raw, the way Charlotte was cutting her promos, it was clear that Charlotte was just using Asuka and, just playing along with Asuka to get to the Raw Women's title. That's what I took from it, but that's just been forgotten about.
It's totally been forgotten about because now both of the tag team champions have gone in completely different directions. Charlotte is now in this feud with Lacey Evans because she's stolen her dad, and Asuka is now tangled up with Alexa Bliss. Now, this is the other potential match that I could see maybe happening at the Royal Rumble, because as we know in WWE land, often the way they set up a title match is by having the non-champion pin the champion, but in a non-title match. And that's what happened in the main event of Raw, where Alexa Bliss pinned Asuka clean as a whistle, which to me suggests that maybe we're going to see Asuka pulling double duty again. She's no stranger to it. She's done it before. But maybe on a show that features 2 feature-length Royal Rumble matches, maybe that's too much of an ask. I'm not sure.
Didn't somebody do it last year, the year before? Was it Becky?
At the yeah, she wrestled Asuka and then won the Rumble.
Yeah. Why not? Why not do it again, eh?
That's very true. I've just thought there the Rumble's going to be a tricky pay-per-view to pull off when you're trying to limit the amount of people in one place, because there's going to be a lot of people on the card. So maybe they will just chuck Asuka and everything. It's
at Tropicana Field, isn't it? And that's a famously just massive space. So plenty of room for social distancing and all that good stuff.
That is true. They can all just book the match via the WhatsApp group in different areas of the arena. So yeah, potentially it looks like we might be seeing Charlotte and Asuka defending the tag titles against Nia and Shayna. And potentially we might see Asuka defend her solo title, the Raw Women's title, against Alexa Bliss. Now, another thing that was announced on last night's Raw is that next week we're going to see the return of not only Goldberg, who's been absent for a little while since calling out Drew McIntyre and shoving him down, but also the return of Drew himself. He'll be back. He'll have, undergone his isolation period after testing positive. He gave an update on Raw as well, said that he's still asymptomatic. He's feeling fine, but he understands that it's important that he stays away from everybody. But it'll be nice to see him back, do you think?
It will be nice to see him back. I just hope, again, they're not rushing him back, because we've seen so many cases where, I don't know, I'm a supporter of Newcastle United, Jack. And there's a couple of Newcastle United players who had the long-term effects of COVID, and they just haven't been right cardiovascularly, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So hopefully what he's saying is true, and not just him doing, the wrestler thing of acting tougher than maybe you actually are and hiding some little niggles and all that stuff. So hopefully he's fine.
Hopefully so. Of course, they will be wrestling each other at the Royal Rumble. I guess the one positive thing there is that Goldberg matches are very short, so Drew won't have to, he's not going to have to go for 20 plus minutes or anything like that. So maybe, even if he isn't still at 100% once again, he can get away with it, kind of. Although, if you're in there with Goldberg, you probably want to have your wits about you, I'd suggest.
I mean, it's still, even though it's 5 minutes, it's still going to be, bombs getting thrown in every direction, so you need to have... As I'm sitting here, obviously taking many bumps inside the professional wrestling ring. For a 5-minute match, you still need to be in fantastic cardiovascular shape, of course.
Well, it'll be interesting seeing them back next week, because the way that they're talking, the way that they're booking these shows, it almost feels like the Rumble is this weekend. But of course, there's still is there 2 weeks left until the Rumble?
Week on Sunday, innit?
Oh, so there's. Oh, I'm not actually certain.
Let me get my calendar out, Jack. Don't you worry. Sit tight. It is. It's a week on Sunday. So
there's one more Raw. There's the Go Home Raw left.
Yeah.
Oh well, then that'll be the big angle then, won't it? On that Raw, you presume Drew and Goldberg, a pull apart brawl or something like that. Maybe
probably
Goldberg will spear him or something.
If they want to keep as many people off the show at the same time as possible, maybe not. Maybe they'll have to do something outside the box that we haven't maybe seen before from a main event feud heading into a pay-per-view.
That's very, very true. Just while we're because this is the last little bit of Raw we're going to talk about, I'll just say, when you're doing WTF moments, do watch out for Matt Riddle and Bobby Lashley backstage, because that's a great moment. That just keep an eye out.
Is that you being sarcastic?
I don't know. I'll just leave it. Yes, it is me being sarcastic, but I'll just let you find out what that is yourself. In other news, though, there's been real heat, Ross, between Mark Henry and Ryback. Now, before we get into the latest update, who do you think's right in this argument so far?
Oh my god, I honestly don't care. I reckon they're just angling for a WrestleMania match. Of course they are, aren't they? The pair of them, the pair of workers that they are.
Ooh, well,
they're not really. Ryback's been a bit of an shit house, isn't he?
Ryback, ever since leaving WWE, has never turned down the opportunity to try and wind somebody up from WWE. And Mark Henry seems very annoyed. He responded on Busted Open Radio, and these quotes are provided via WrestlingNews.co. And I don't know where to begin because I can't possibly read out the whole quote, but he cut one of the promos of the past decade anyway, Mark Henry. This is incredible stuff. Ryback had accused Mark Henry of falling asleep before their WrestleMania match, and Mark Henry has responded by saying, "I always took naps. It's just what I did. I was a napper. Forgive me for that."
Some people are.
Absolutely. But then Ryback also said things that kind of got Mark Henry a bit more annoyed, saying stuff like an unnamed agent said to Ryback, "Oh, good luck wrestling Mark Henry," because that guy's terrible. And then John Cena apparently also didn't want to work with Mark Henry. Now, Mark Henry has replied, I'm just going to read this out as much as I can while censoring myself. Okay, so he said, "You put John Cena out on Front Street, and I'm sure John Cena would probably make a statement about how when he first got into wrestling, who did he ride in the car with? Me." John Cena and Mark Henry were friends at the start? That's nice. Who's that guy who went to the office and said, "Hey man, you all need to see John Cena rap, the dude is talented." And they said, "You know what, this is awesome." That was Mark Henry, he's implying. "John was mad at me because he didn't want to be looked at as the rapper guy, but then you got Thugonomics. You're welcome. F you, Ryback." He's just gone straight back onto the Ryback thing there. "You're trying to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, that I'm not great, that I was the SHITS. You based it off and you throw it off an unnamed agent. Name his name. You name John Cena, name the agent. I'll call him. I'll get him on the show and I'll say, listen, I'm not saying that this happened, but at any point did you ever tell Ryback that I was the SHITS? I was famous for taking naps. I take naps every day." It goes on and on.
World-class napper is Mark Henry.
If I skip past the nap bit, because I already obviously mentioned that, "You go back and I challenge anybody, go back and look at the match at WrestleMania with me and Ryback and see if you see any holes in that match. I was a whole filler, even with people like you, who other people didn't want to work with. You talk about the work rate. You talk about your Psalms. You talk about your John 3:16. You wanted to get your SHIT in and think that was getting over. You can post as many videos as you want of you giving me finishes. It's not the real thing. Until you walk up to me and punch me in my face, the world won't know how violent I can be. So when you feel froggy like that, you let me know where I need to get a plane ticket to, and I will show up for that, because even at 50 years old, I'm more man than most men will ever want to be in their dreams."
There is no denying that, Mark. Stop. It's WrestleMania. It's got to be unsanctioned match. The main event after the main event has got to be Mark Henry and Ryback locked in some sort of cage and just let them fight until one of them dies. That's what we've got to do here.
I just want to keep going for just a little bit longer, because then he gets a bit... that's been full, like, 80s promo that I'm more man than any man. Now he goes a bit CM Punk. He goes a bit, like, breaking the fourth wall. You start talking about cutting promos. I'm not cutting a promo. I'm saying this from my soul. I will tear your flesh off, bro. And that's a promise. I'm not threatening you. He is. I'm just saying, as a reactionary thing, if you hit me, there will be hospital time. I'll make sure of it. That's my response to Mr. Ryback, and I will never speak on it again because it's a waste of my energy. I want to make this show, and this show should be more about peace, because it's Martin Luther King Day, is how he ended that.
I honestly don't know what to make about that last bit. It's just, again, I want to say it at WrestleMania. It's got to happen. Book it, Vince, as they say.
We all knew that Mark Henry was a great promo after that fake retirement angle, but I've never seen such just sheer fire from him.
It's a weird, I know, I don't know much about fighting, but like, it's a weird thing to sort of do in the midst of what is seemingly a real slice of beef. Normally, you're just going, I'll smash your face in. Not go on a massive like monologue like that.
Is it an American thing?
Maybe
it's an American thing. I don't know. But that's heated up. Now, mercifully, we're moving from the world of real beef to the world of wrestling, kayfabe beef. But a very real injury, because Kofi Kingston, obviously, it was recently reported, had suffered a jaw injury, a broken jaw, I believe. But nobody quite knew whether it was real or whether it was masking another injury. Kofi has talked about this himself on the New Day's Feel the Power podcast and has given a bit more details as to why the injury seemingly came out of nowhere, didn't quite match up with any particular match. It's because it was a bit of a delayed injury, Ross. So apparently he got kneed in the face by Cedric Alexander, which doesn't sound very nice.
What do you mean a delayed injury? How can you have a delayed broken jaw?
Well, I think what he's saying here is that he didn't realise it was broken for a while. So Kofi said, I got kneed in the face by Cedric Alexander about 3 weeks ago and a couple of my teeth chipped. It was all fine, it was cool. And the point of impact was just really sore. So I thought, okay, it's just a bruise or whatever. The next week, we actually had a 6-man match and everything was fine. A little bit of pain, but not terrible. And then the next week, when we had our match, right before we went out, and this is horrible, it just kept feeling like it was loose. His jaw just kept feeling like it was loose. And I thought, this is weird, okay. And as soon as we get out there to the ring and I'm moving around, I'm feeling it kind of come out of place and it felt like it wasn't set.
That must be weird. That must be a bit disconcerting. But yeah, hopefully he gets better very soon and is allowed the time off to recover once again.
Absolutely. There's been... I was about to say there's been a lot of broken jaws recently. Finn Balor broke his jaw and then Kyle O'Reilly, kayfabe, broke his jaw. But seems like Kofi's is legit. And whenever an injury like this happens, one that wrestlers seem to brush off that would surely make any normal person kind of freak out a little bit, like if you're getting ready for a wrestling match and your jaw feels like it's not in, is when, was it... No, not Cesaro. Was it The Miz who caught one of AJ Styles' back fists and his teeth just came out and started bouncing around?
I think I remember that, yeah.
And I remember watching that gif and just seeing The Miz realise that his tooth was bouncing off his own leg, and then he stayed calm and finished the match. It
was Cesaro when he went for a splash in the corner, didn't he? He went mouth first into the ring pole and his teeth got shoved back up in. Oh.
No, it's not on.
Oh, it reminds me of my... I was on a dance floor in Benidorm in 2009 having a good old bop.
Okay.
I had a bottle of Budweiser in one hand, and then I was just, having a nice little dance as you do with a bottle of Budweiser, and then someone knocked my bottle up into my tooth and I chipped. That's why this tooth here is a bit chipped. Terrible scenes. Feels awful. Feels awful.
Is it visible? Can you tell? I can't see from here. I don't know. I'm getting distracted by the Northern Lights. Can't see.
Wrestling news is done, Jack. I think we've fleshed this video out enough.
Yeah. There was more Mark Henry stuff. He went on for longer if we need to, but it's all right. I'll leave it there. Right, thanks very much, Ross. And thanks to everybody for watching as well. Leave your thoughts and opinions on any of these stories in that comment section down below. And stay safe out there, stay positive, and we'll see you very soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.